Welcome to Rap in Order, the interrogation of a hip-hop album, where we take some of the culture's most beloved hip-hop albums, put them on the stand, see if they stood the test of time. Now let's see who we got on the stand today. Welcome to another episode of Rap in Order. I'm First Class Regg.
Taurian B.
Today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into an artist that I feel has been around. For as long as he's been around, I don't think he gets a lot of recognition. I think he's always kind of respected in the shadows. He's a part of a big conglomerate, a big label that's been around and respected for years to come, with a highlight artist that we all know about with J. Cole. And I'm talking about JID or JID, however you refer to him. This album was a little pivotal for him. And I'm talking about DiCaprio 2. When it was released, JID had a lot of eyes on him at the time. Obviously being under a name like J. Cole garnered a lot of interest, and a lot of new eyes came his way. With this album, with it being called DiCaprio, I was looking into that too, and he always talked about in the past Leonardo DiCaprio being one of the actors that he really was fascinated with. So when you listen to this album, it gives you a lot of thoughts in that arena, because it kind of kicks off with, well, I'll get into that later. First, how do you feel about this album?
I checked it out because I was bothering you, like, what album we going to do, and you picked this project. And I remember when it dropped, because people were talking about how much he sounded like Kendrick Lamar. Mm-hmm. So I think that this kind of made me not dive into it, because I was just like, well, he sounds like Kendrick. What's the big deal? J. Cole couldn't sign Kendrick, so he signed somebody who sounds like him. Mm-hmm. But I checked out the project, and then I checked out a lot of things about him. One being, Black, Six Lack, that some people call him, is one of my favorite artists ever. And finding out that they used to run together, and they're very good friends, and that he's from the Atlanta metro area, piqued my interest, because in my opinion, Atlanta is just one of the most unique music cities, because you'll have mainstream artists like Migos, Future, Lil Yachty, 21 Savage, Lil Baby, right? Mm-hmm. That'll be these big artists, so people will think that's a representation. And then you'll have artists like somebody like a JID, who's this real lyrical miracle kind of guy, but you wouldn't think of him when you think about rappers from Atlanta. Or the kid Rory, right, who's pretty much basically Junior Andre 3000. There's a lot of artists from Atlanta that are really prominent and big, and they don't even know each other or whatever like that. And maybe they're aware of each other, but they don't collaborate. So it's just a very large division in Atlanta still, to a certain extent, because you have rappers that are in the trap lane, and they kind of all talk about the same thing, the bando, whatever crime is going on down there, whatever that lifestyle. Then you have somebody like JID, who's also in tune with that, but he just does it in a more lyrical sense. It's not as straightforward, and is more lyrically driven. Yeah. So that alone right there, for me doing my research before I even played DiCaprio 2, that was just me learning about him, right? So then I realized that obviously this guy has ADHD, and that's that's how he got his name JID, because he was jittery when he was a kid. He got the nickname JID. So I listened to it, and then I understood all right, he can't help this. This is just who he is. He's not purposely trying to sound like Kendrick as a person. He's just it's kind of his cadence. It's kind of how he is. I listen to his interviews. The guy blinks a lot. He can't help it. Mm-hmm. But listening to this album made me listen to his current album, and I was very impressed, and I felt okay, this guy is on to something. It's not his fault. It's no different than, people talking about Future, being copying off of T-Pain, Sean sounding like Biggie. Sometimes you just can't help how you sound. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. Remember that dude that was with Dipset that sounded like Jay-Z? He went nowhere.
Oh, and what was his name?
N-O-E.
Okay, and then Angie Martinez had an artist too, Scenario or something like that, or Sicario.
Right. Sicario, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's funny as hell.
But with this album, JID was obviously like building. His buzz is like organic, and it's from that. It's unique because it's at that tail end of the blog era. So like he came in when everything was like being pushed to SoundCloud. So like the first DiCaprio was released, I want to say in 2015, and it was like a defining moment for him, and it's still on SoundCloud, I believe. So I remember when he put up his Instagram post, basically in promotion of DiCaprio 2, and he was talking about the creative process of the first one and what he had to go through, and this album kind of being a monumental moment for him, because you fast forward from then releasing independently to this being like a major album for him, and being under an artist like J. Cole, who's from that same type of era. Mm-hmm. So they kind of got each other in that sense. And even on this album, with it kicking off with Frequency Change, which was produced by Christo. And it's kind of just, when I first listened, without even knowing the background of like his fascination with Leonardo DiCaprio and him as an artist, this intro kind of gives you a good insight of where this album is going to go, because it's like just a bunch of different words and scenarios that are happening. And I was trying to look into it like, well, why did he kick off like this? And the only thing that I could come up with was that, you know, no matter what's going on or what the dialogue is, like the main focal point is him, and he's going to go off. Mm-hmm. And that's how he sees Leonardo as an actor. Like, whereas like, no matter what the role is, no matter what the movie is, no matter if the movie sucks or not, or how you feel about it, him being a focal point is going to be the satisfaction.
Yeah, and there's 6 Leonardo DiCaprio films that are like reference. Inception, The Revenant, Wolf of Wall Street, Titanic, and Django.
Yeah, and those are all, and in all of those roles, DiCaprio has like a defining moment as an actor. In all of those roles.
I think it's fucked up that he didn't include was Ian Gilbert great. I think Leo gave a great performance in that movie.
Yeah. I wonder why. That's interesting though. So Slick Talk though is what fully kicks this album off. You know, I love when rappers get on their slick talk shit. It's a great opener, and I'm a sucker for a good beat switch.
Yeah, it was a nice boom bap beat. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the wordplay is brilliant, and you know. He really sounds like Kendrick, bro.
Yeah, he does.
Like, he can't help it. I get it. It's his voice, but, like, goddamn.
It's his voice, but at the same time, I think he be trolling, too. Because I know he's heard this. So, I know he's heard that he sound like Kendrick. So, like, not only is his voice, but it's the cadence, too, that he fucks with. And he's a fast... I didn't peg him for being, like, a fast rapper. But that's definitely what he is. He's in that lane. Because, like, even Twista has, like, referenced him as, like, being a fast rapper, being one of those rappers that he, like, likes. You know, that's in that lane.
Yeah, it's just a pocket that, like, he can get into. So, which one you wanted to talk about next? Because what I wanted to discuss is this. Like, I'm just going to get straight to the point. Mm-hmm. I think he, like, whooped Cole's ass on every song they did.
Oh, yeah. So, Off These was cool. That's track 4 on the album. Off These was dope because usually when you get, like, the OG, well, quote-unquote OG, which is Cole on this album, when you get, like, the label head on your album, you got to show out a little bit. Or you kind of play second fiddle, and he didn't. It's like he knew that he had to go off, and he came in fucking swinging on that joint. He came in swinging on that joint. But Cole sounded good too, but the kid got him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I just think that like he Cole had to jump into his world and like realize like he had to keep the energy up. And it wasn't as easy as he thought. Like, and it's funny because, like, you know, like we give Cole a lot of credit for like when he was able to hop on a song with 21 Savage. And there's a few other people that he's gotten on songs with where he was able to like really like show and
adapt, and adapt to their style.
But this one, like, you could tell like either Cole, you know what I'm saying, like probably just didn't want to like do his verse over, but like he got Cole. Cole did well, but like I feel like Cole wasn't at his sharpest.
Yeah. One of the other standouts too on this album is Westbrook, which features Ferg. Because Ferg, I feel like he knows why people recruit him. He always lives up to it. Like it's for the energy, it's for the chorus, it's for his ad libs. All of that shit works on Westbrook. I done came up. Like it's just a feel good joint, and it doesn't disappoint.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Jay has a verse on this song, and when I listened to this, I knew I heard it before. I went back and he did it in the BET cipher, the Dreamville BET cipher.
Oh, that's where he did this.
And the verse is, "Live life like a baby that died at birth but came back alive and fucked the nurses." Yeah, and it's a triple entendre that he used because he's like, yo, just live life like you know you're gonna die. And you just come, like, you just gonna keep coming. Like, you're just gonna do it. And you know what I'm saying? You're just gonna fuck the world up. You're just gonna fuck everybody up in front of you. So I just thought that was, like, impressive. And I was like, damn, like, live life like you're gonna die at birth and come back alive and fuck the nurses. Like, I just thought that was just a hell of
that's fire. Yeah.
A triple entendre when you think, like, it is, like, it's not as polished as, like, a Jay-Z triple entendre, but but it also gives me very, like, early Nas, Big L, like triple entendres, like, you know, when I was 12, I went to hell for smacking Jesus. Shit
yeah,
like that.
Yeah.
Like,
it's super imaginative. Yeah, I like that a lot too. And he has another joint on here that I really like. He got this joint off the Zoinkies, which is really dope because he kind of talks about it's interesting, right? Because Cole has an album that's basically talking about drug rap and being so anti-drug rap, which can kind of be a little risky to talk about because you could risk sounding corny. But Cole pulled it off in his own way. We reviewed that too, by the way. But on Off the Zoinkies, I feel like he did, this song is like maybe 3 minutes and some change. But he did everything in this song that Cole did in that album, where he kind of denounces drug use in rap, denounces using drugs, and kind of is on this elitist level of like, yo, not really needing to do it, and y'all niggas that do it is whack. I thought it was kind of dope.
No, I thought it was dope too. I thought it was clever, and it's kind of true. It's like, yo, like you guys are out here like killing yourselves, and like we have so many examples. Like think about like how we lost Juice WRLD. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's certain people that probably still would be here if like they didn't have these addictions. And obviously, like some people can't help being addicted to something, but it's like if you can like help that person still be here. Selfishly, for a lot of us, we would rather them be here than not be here. So yeah, don't do drugs.
Yeah. And then what's another one? I really fuck with Working Out. Working Out, when I was listening to that one, I thought about Andre 3000 because of the subject matter. The way it kicks off, it sounds like an Outkast beat. It sounds like an Outkast chorus. And I think Andre would have sounded great on it because what JID is essentially talking about is being at this level of fame or the early levels of fame, which I feel like a lot of rappers talk about, but he's being at this early level of fame, but also still not completely being happy, still kind of being sad, still feeling like he needs other shit. And I think that's something that Andre can identify with and that he's told us over the years.
Right.
And he would have went fucking crazy on that.
Yeah, man. Andre's on that list. If I become ridiculously snobbishly rich, I'm gonna like pay him an exorbitant amount of money to make an album.
Yo, and just fucking lock the door. Like, yo, just stay in there and give me an album. Don't
come out till it's done.
I'm sorry, man. I love you. This is not kidnapping. I just need a fucking album.
Yeah, don't come out till it's done. Imagine he gives it to you and it's just flute.
Yeah, yeah. I would fucking take his flute too. Take his flute.
You want to know a disappointing song on here? Tired.
Oh, with is that the joint with LMA and Black?
And Black, yeah. It was disappointing because, like I said, I researched and I was like, oh, okay, so like Dave like always like works together, you know, in the early stages of their career, and so if you remember at this time, LMA was really like on fire at this time because she had Boot Up, right? And yeah. So I just it's funny because Black still did his thing, LMA still did other thing, but like I was kind of like disappointed in JID's performance on this song. Like I just didn't think I was like, damn, like I was actually like looking forward to this one, and I wasn't as impressed. Another song where I kind of felt like it was on paper, it's like a boom bap is like Wet Dream.
Oh boy, don't say it, because I like this song.
I'm telling you, man, Hotbox.
Ah,
Method Man held his own. He did his thing, but like I
yeah.
didn't think JID came through how he should have.
Yeah, Method Man and Joey Badass sounded great on that joint. But I guess you're right. Like, I like it because Method and Joey showed out and they balanced it out. But when you think about it, I mean, it's JID's song, so I'm supposed to like him.
Right. It's just like that's all I'm saying. Like I was like, wow, okay, like I'm like, you know, maybe he should have just like let Joey have this or Meth have this for their next project or whatever like that. It just seemed like, all right, it sounded like a cool thing to do and in theory on paper, but we just didn't get what was advertised.
Yeah. And then one thing we haven't talked about is the fact that DJ Drama is on this album.
Yeah, but we don't find out until like the what is it?
Until like the fucking, I want to say like the
sixth song, I think.
Yeah, maybe. No, it had to be like track 9 or 10. I want to say at Hotbox is when he shows up. Because he's like, oh, other niggas is on this album. All right, I'm here too. And it was just weird that like, this is technically a Gangsta Grills.
Yeah. I think this is when like things like the Gangsta Grills started getting different. Like when Drama started being like, listen, I got Generation Now. On the rise. I got this kid named Uzi, man. Like I think he started taking a different approach.
I think this is exactly around the time Uzi was popping.
Yeah, like because I was like, yo, that baffled the fuck. That shocked me. I was like, I thought I had a mistake. I was like, maybe I'm listening to the wrong project.
Yeah, and then from there he was like on every song.
Yeah.
After that, it's so weird to me how they did that. I was kind of disappointed in the Strawberries track with BJ the Chicago Kid because on paper it looks amazing. You got J. Cole on production, you got Masego, you got Ron Gilmore, and you have an assist from Mac Miller that helped curate this song. But you had something to add?
No, I'm gonna let you finish it.
But yeah, I just don't feel like it delivered the way I wanted it to. I don't know what I was expecting from seeing everybody involved, but I wanted more than what I got.
All right, so I have 2 points to make. BJ, the Chicago Kid, is a mystery to me. Like I really thought that by now, like he would have gotten like some like his. I don't know if it call it his shot or whatever like that, but it seems like he's just he's like a go-to guy in the studio, right? It's very like odd to me, and I just never like could grasp it. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was Mac Miller's hand in this project. It was like one of the, I want to say like not one of the final projects, but like one, like it was in like that roundup of some of the final projects that he had his fingerprints on because him and Jill like worked a lot together. And I think that I remember you sent me an article like a week or so ago where like this guy was like analyzing like a lot of like white artists in hip hop.
Oh yeah,
saying like how pretty much like they're overrated, but like, you know, somebody like Mac Miller gets a lot of respect because, you know, like he passed away, but like pretty much like he kind of like served no purpose in hip hop. And I thought about that. I don't think that that's the case. I just think that Mac Miller probably was better served as a producer, like because he wasn't he wasn't like Eminem as far as like a rapper, like in like the like obviously there's like, you know, when he did with like the Divine Feminine and Swimming, like, you know, he got better with conceptually, but I think that he probably was better served like as a producer, like or like helping develop artists.
That's interesting. So like I admittedly wasn't the biggest fan of Mac Miller at first. It wasn't until I didn't start really checking for Mac Miller shit until watching movies with the sound off. And as we know, our friend Danny loves Mac Miller. Always has championed Mac Miller. I thought he was good, you know, but then it wasn't until watching movies that I started seeing his artistry kind of just get bigger. So like after watching movies, and then he came out with the Divine Feminine, which I really fucking loved.
Yeah, me too.
We reviewed that on here too. And then he just kept getting better and better. He was linking up with different producers. He was playing different instruments. He was working with Thundercat. Like he was in a whole nother realm to me. Like I thought he was just getting better. The Good AM was a great project too. So I can't say that that him as an artist, I think, and he was still young. He was mad young.
Yeah.
So like I think we got a chance to see him throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks and seeing, him explore his artistry more. I think given the chance, I would have loved to see where he would have gone after swimming.
Okay. I'll say it. So this is a better assessment. I think that is really unfair that like some artists or musicians, depending on how they come out, get pigeonholed into rap or hip hop,
Mm-hmm.
and then like we have to like compare them. Like I think Mac Miller was like a really good artist who happened to know how to rap, but like we don't know like what else to put him in, and I think that's why the writer was so heavy handed with his assessment of Mac Miller, because like he did when he came out, he basically was Asher Roth.
Yeah.
But like I think that probably was all he knew, and then as time went on, he had more experiences
and found
himself. He was able to do that. But I think that like like take somebody, and I'm not comparing him to Prince, but take somebody like Prince. What genre would people put Prince in? Would you put him into rock? Would you put him into R&B? Would you put him into funk? Would you put him into soul? No, he's a melted pot of all those things.
Yeah.
And I think with Mac Miller, I think that might be a truthful thing about him as well. That like he fits into like a blend of a lot of genres, and there's no like one set genre. But in rap and hip hop, like we always try to do that, and I think that that's like the one of the things that holds back a lot of people in hip hop, that they get pigeonholed.
I think so too, because it sucks because like hip hop is such a dominant thing, and I think even to this day people still refer to Uzi as a rapper. Like Uzi's not a rapper to me. Like but like he toggles the line of like being a rock star, which will kind of generalize everything he does in his lifestyle.
Yeah.
But he's much more than just like a rapper, as people tend to call him. And I think Mac, since he was so young, his artistry was only growing. So it's kind of unfair to pigeonhole him just to that too, when he was about to show us so much more. So right. I get that. But yeah, I mean that's that. And as far as this album goes, Just Another Day is another typical topic from a rapper's perspective. But what did you think about it?
Just Another Day, I wasn't feeling it.
Yeah.
It's just like I said, this album, like there were certain parts of the album where it's like he like shined and like really showed his lyrical ability, and then with certain parts where it's just like I'm like, all right, like where are we going with this? Like what's the point? Like, and I kind of think that he's still just like figuring it out. Mm-hmm. There's some people who like just immensely talented at rapping, but like they still don't really give you much.
Yeah, no, that's true, and I think with his new album, if you put in perspective where he's at with his new album, because I gave that a listen. Man, where he's at now is great. I think this was the skeleton to that. I think he's getting more personal in his newer work. He has more to talk about instead of just these like typical topics or off the cuff. And this album isn't as personal. It's not that I really need that many like personal perspectives. I need fun. I need some energy. I don't need so much of the same shit. And I think that's what a lot of these points are on this album. But it's still a good listen because he's a good rapper. But now, and it's like we was just saying with Mac Miller, now that he's had the chance to grow, because this was in 2018, 2022, he just dropped a new joint and it's getting like really good reviews. I see Anthony Fantano, Drake's bestie, gave it like a 9 out of 10. Pitchfork, I think something similar. So like he's getting great reviews.
Yeah, Anthony Fantano is hilarious.
Yeah. Who's been around forever too.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy. But that kind of, those tracks kind of are the highlights of this album. I would say for people to check it out, to kind of give them more of a perspective of the kind of artist that JID is, or JID, whatever you want to call him. What do you feel like giving this album as a rating?
3 out of 5 waffles works for me for this project. I think that it was like his turning point. I think that this project put put him in a lot of people's conversations when they're talking about music.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why I wanted to do this album was because I felt like he is a part of that era that like we know about so clearly, but he doesn't get talked about at all.
I agree. I mean, and it's funny because I started to argue with you like, man, fuck JID.
Yeah.
Like,
a lot of people.
I don't want to do this album. Let's do another album.
I told one of my homies, shout out to Buki, that we was doing this album, and he was like, I mean, I guess, but it's like, bro, like, I mean, JID has been out here for a while. Like, let's dig into that. Like, what? Why is it? What do you think is it about him that's not connecting overall? Because people talk about Ari Lennox. Yeah. People talk about the rest of the. People talk about Lute.
He sounds like Kendrick Lamar.
You think that's what it is?
For me, that's what it is. Like, I'm not. I got Kendrick Lamar, and he's better than this guy.
So I ask you this, because like when Action Bronson came out, obviously people said he sounded like Ghostface, but people didn't denounce him because of that. It made them more intrigued.
Some people did, but I think that the difference is that Action Bronson is entertaining.
Yeah.
He's entertaining and outside of rap. So like he's a personality that you're interested in even if he didn't rap. Mm-hmm. And Action Bronson's music is such like a 180 to Ghostface Killer's music. So it's just like when you hear the music, like you just completely like you can separate the two. Mm. Like just like he has like way more humor. Like he just Bronson's personality is so big, man. It just brings you in, and it's just one of those things where it's just like you just know the difference.
There's so much he can do with his. There's so much he can do with his name too. Like he could be a fucking wrestler.
He's actually wrestling next Saturday. Yeah. For at AEW Grand Slam.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so at Arthur Ashe Stadium.
And he's an authentic fan of that era. Like wrestling, fucking. He can have a cartoon like Mike Tyson had. He could do so much with his fucking name. And he's that type of personality.
Interesting guy, man.
Yeah, he is. But I feel comfortable giving JID's album a 3 as well. Only because from here he grew as an artist. His newer album is definitely worth checking out over this one, but I'm a fan of listening to things in order. So like that's like a Virgo trait people tell me about, of just being like this. But I would say check this out before you get to his new album. It's definitely worth the time. But that's it. I'm First Class Regg.
And I'm Taurian B.
And we're out of here, y'all.
Catch you guys next time.
These are their stories.
Dum dum.